Hello, my name is Sandy, and today I'm going to be talking about traveling and specifically traveling on a low budget. So if that's something you're interested in, then just keep watching. Now, as a disclaimer, I am not a travel agent. I have never been a travel agent. I'm not a travel professional, but I have traveled to 23 countries on 3 continents and 29 states. So in all of my travels, I've learned how to do it on a budget. And so I just want to share some of the tips. This list probably is not going to be all inclusive, and maybe it won't work for your lifestyle, but it may give you some ideas and tips of things that you can do that will match your lifestyle. So I'm going to take this information basically from the standpoint of traveling internationally, but it absolutely applies for if you're traveling domestically as well. So let me go ahead and get started with tip number 1. My first recommendation is to get an airline credit card. They are amazing for finding great deals on flights. You will earn a minimum of 1 airline mile per dollar spent, 2 airline miles per dollar spent at a grocery store. So just depending on what card you get. There are other benefits to it as well. You can get priority boarding, free baggage checks, things like that that really add up when you're traveling. So a great thing to get. There is a downside. There's usually going to be an annual fee, and they're going to have a really high interest rate. However, but in my experience, the benefits of the card far outweigh the annual fee. And the interest rate, I avoid that because I do not run a balance on it. So, as an example, you can pay all of your bills, most of your bills, I should say, on a credit card. So your monthly expenses, your light bill, your gas bill, different bills like that, you can pay them on your card. You're earning miles on them. You pay it off at the end of the month. You've got the miles, you're avoiding the interest rates. It's worth it if you want to travel. Case in point, when I do travel, usually because I use my card for everything and then just pay it off, I end up with enough miles to travel when I go to see my grandchildren. I travel free. I never pay for airfare there. I usually always have more than enough tickets to go there. Last year, I had enough miles saved up that I was able to take a trip abroad using airline miles. So it definitely works. I have done this for years, and it is definitely worth doing that. You just have to have the discipline not to run a balance on your credit cards if you're on a debt-free journey. But it's very doable, and there's so many things that you can use the card for and earn those miles and just pay it off. So that is one thing that I cannot stress enough. That's critically important. If you are a traveler or would like to get out there and do some traveling, this is a way to do it at a very low cost or even for free. Another thing that I'm going to point out is that sometimes I back into where I'm going to go on a vacation. Now, this is kind of tough one to absorb. And it took me a while to get there because there's certain places that I definitely wanted to go. But once I've traveled to certain places that were like high on the priority list, I began to be more open to where else can I go? And I would shop for, okay, I have this many miles. Where can I go? So I would just play around on the airline site just to kind of see, because at certain times of the season or the year, there may be a special where you only need, 50,000 miles and you can go, someplace in Europe or, wherever it is that you might want to go, to Caribbean, wherever it is. So sometimes I'll look to see where I can go for the lowest amount of miles and just kind of back into a vacation like that. Similarly, I back into vacation dates based on that as well. So I don't use I don't even know what to call them, a travel advisor or a travel agent. I go out and I just Google is my best friend, and I look at these airlines. I look at to see what's the best time to go, or what's the off season. So not necessarily the time where everybody is going, or peak seasons, because prices are going to be more expensive. So I will back into travel dates as well as travel locations sometimes. Case in point, last summer I traveled to Geneva, Switzerland. That place was selected because it was a very, very, very low amount of, actually it was free. I didn't even have to spend anything because I had enough miles to go there. So air travel to Geneva, Switzerland for free, it was worth it. So that's another option to do if you just are kind of open to your travel options and open to seeing new places, experiencing new cultures. The same can happen domestically. You can just look and say, where can I go for a low amount of points? Florida historically is one place that you can typically go pretty reasonable, as well as Vegas, so you just kind of look at places where they typically would have the deals where you can, get to go for a low cost or for free. And tip number 2 is to use a site such as TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor is a wonderful resource because you can find things to do in a city once you've decided where you're going. You can find restaurant options. You can even find hotels and other things in there as well. You can also hear from other travelers that have been there to get their experience on certain things, like especially if you're thinking about doing any tours once you arrive at a place or taking a day trip. They have those out there where you can look at the different options. So I've just pulled up here London just as an example, and it gives you different places that you may be able to go for a day once you arrive at your destination. Now, what I use this for is I go out there. Sometimes I'll actually purchase the deals depending on what they include and the price of it. But sometimes I'll model that trip myself. So as an example, I'll look to see, okay, does the local transportation go to this place? And if it does, local transportation obviously is going to be cheaper than getting on a tour bus. So I may do that and then, price out in advance what it would be for admission to a place or whatever. So those are definitely options that are out here on TripAdvisor. I'm sure there are other sites such as this. TripAdvisor happens to be one of my favorites. I do trust the information that is out there. And I do like to price out tours and things before I go, because I found that if you're going to do the actual tour, sometimes purchasing them in advance is more cost effective than getting there and then deciding to go. Also, if you do that, you can look on TripAdvisor and they can tell you the days in which the event or the site might be open, because some things may be closed on certain days. Or you may find that if it's a particular museum or things like that, if you're thinking about going to, that if you go after 5 p.m., maybe it's free admission. So there's so many tips that you can get on here. Also, if you go to a location that has the hop on, hop off, I know a lot of people are not fans of that. I happen to like it because it's like free transportation. I'm not free, but you pay your one cost and you get to see, most of the city. So that's definitely a good option. Also, it gives you information about the local transportation. So the trains, the buses, some cities may have water taxis, things like that. You can get all these ideas so that you can kind of plan how you're going to get around once you get there. They may have bicycle rentals, different options. Some places have the trams, so TripAdvisor is a excellent resource to plan your trip so that you have an idea of what you're going to be doing once you get to your destination. Now, my next tip is around accommodations. Now, I like to use booking.com. It is an app or site that you can go to and you can put in where you're going to be traveling to. You put in your travel dates and it brings up locations or hotels, apartments that you may be interested in renting. I love it because it gives you the option to staying like in the tourist areas or in actual neighborhoods. Like you can rent an apartment in a neighborhood. I love that as an option because that opens the door to you having access to, a refrigerator, a stove, things like that. That's really important, especially if you're traveling with family. That way you can do some meals inside as opposed to eating every meal out. But you find great deals on accommodations while you're there. I'm looking at this one here. That's $321 for a 7-day stay in London, England. It gives you pictures of what the accommodations looks like. So that you can make an informed decision as to is this someplace that you would want to stay. This is actually a hotel, but the same information is out there available to you if you select an apartment. It also gives you ratings for that location. It tells you what else is around the location. It gives you the facilities that are available. It tells you about restaurants. It tells you about public transportation that's nearby. So it gives you all of the information. And one of the things that I like about Booking, as opposed to some of the other sites that are out there that are like this, Priceline, Expedia, so on and so forth, is that there are some properties within Booking that allow you to book it without any type of cancellation fee. And I like that. And there are also some that don't require that you pay for them before your visit. So that's also a plus. Now to tip 4. All right, so I mentioned at booking.com, you have the option of booking an apartment or accommodations with, a stove, a refrigerator, and things like that. Airbnb is also another option that is an excellent one that I've also used. Same situation where you could potentially have access to those types of things. And I consider that some people say, I don't want to go on vacation and have to cook or things like that. But I consider that an opportunity to really immerse yourself more into the culture, especially if you're in another country or something like that, because you get to go to the grocery store. I enjoy going to the grocery stores in other countries just to kind of see the layout, the food options, things like that. So it gives you the option to do that, which is a free tourist attraction for me. So that's something to do, and you can pick up some of the local foods to give them a try in your hotel in the comforts of your home. You don't have to worry about getting up early in the morning to get out. Maybe you want to do some relaxing a little while in your hotel before you get out for the day. But if you have some food in your hotel, then you can do that. Certainly a cheaper option. You can also do it for lunch. If you go out in the morning, come back, you're tired, you can have some little lunch and go back out later on. That way you're not eating 3 meals out a day. Buying food from the grocery store is typically going to be a lot cheaper than eating out in a restaurant, because one of the things that you will find, especially traveling internationally, is a lot of times there are service fees that they charge you for eating in restaurants. So if you're doing that 3 times a day, you just have to consider that for the cost of your trip. And my final tip will be, if you're traveling internationally, don't necessarily purchase things in the tourist areas. Don't eat in the tourist areas. The prices are hiked up. Go out to the neighborhoods. Go out where the locals go. You will get better quality food typically, and definitely at a better price. The same is true with shopping. If you go to the local malls versus the souvenir shops and things like that closest to the tourist attractions, I don't buy souvenirs at all, really. But if you want to purchase or pick up some things, get them from the mall. Find things that are, going to be a lot lower cost for you. One of the things that I like to do as a quote unquote souvenirs, I take a lot of pictures. So one idea, if you want souvenirs to bring back to people, is with your pictures that you're going to be taking anyway, have one printed out. Pick up a nice frame from Dollar Tree. Put the picture in the frame. Beautiful gift, beautiful souvenir at a fraction of the cost. So those are my 5 tips for traveling on a budget. I hope that this information was helpful to you. I hope that you will come back by my channel. If you're not currently subscribed, that you will subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you are notified when I upload a video. This is a lifestyle channel where I do a lot of home decor, shopping hauls, travel related information, and a whole lot more. So I would love to have you as a part of the Sister Cousin Lifestyle channel. And I hope that I will see you back here again. Please comment down below and give me some of your travel tips if you have any that I haven't mentioned today, or some that I might consider, because I'm always looking for new ideas for how to travel. Until next time, bye-bye.